views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Good evening and welcome to BronxTalk. 11 of the city's 76 BIDS, business improvement districts, are in the borough of the Bronx. One of tonight's guests wants to make it 12. The other guest has some ideas on improving one of the Bronx BIDS, but on a larger scale, how effective are BIDS as a tool to stimulate business activity in the Bronx small business districts? And are payments required of all the businesses in a business improvement district, which are in essence a tax, cost effective for a small business owner? Also, are BIDS the answer for every Bronx shopping district? Interesting questions that cut right to the core of the ongoing dialogue on improving local businesses in the borough of the Bronx. We've got two guests with us tonight who have vast experience in the realm of business improvement districts. Please join me in welcoming a former commissioner of the New York City's Department of Small Business Services, who is now a senior advisor of strategic partnerships at Manhattan College. He also happens to host his own 1010 Wins radio program called The Bottom Line. Hi, it's nice to have you, Rob Walsh.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
And he is the owner and chief operating officer at Metro Optics Eyewear and also the chairman of the Westchester Square Business Improvement District. It is John Bonizio. Nice to have you with us, sir.
Good to be here, guys.
Mr. Walsh, let's just start with you and take a step back. Yeah. Business improvement districts, have they been effective over the years? Is this a good way to stimulate the economy for small businesses in the 11 Bronx districts, maybe 12, and other places in the city?
Yes and yes. Business improvement districts have proven to turn around many neighborhoods. And if you think about the history of business improvement districts, they were created during a crisis when the city had no money, when the city was not emptying trash cans, when many neighborhoods were suffering from and choked with crime and grime. And this was a vehicle to bring together property owners to take it upon themselves to make turnarounds of their neighborhoods, large and small, whether it was Union Square or Westchester Square. And if you look around the Bronx, you look at Fordham Road, you look at Westchester Square, you look at Gun Hill Road, there has been a tremendous difference, particularly bringing property owners together, making some noise when they need to make noise with city government, but also adding a shine to neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I guess I'm going to go right for one of the questions I asked right at the top of the show. What areas are best suited for a formal bid, a small business development district, and what are, you say, well, that's a nice idea, but it's not going to work for you?
I think that's a great question. I think it is those areas, and let's say particularly outside Manhattan, okay? It's those areas that have a cluster of retail small businesses. It helps when you have an anchor, whether it's a college, a university, a hospital. That's tremendous. That is an added plus. But when I would walk around the city, I was looking for those areas that had a cluster of retail businesses that might not otherwise come together to tend to their district. In some cases, it was those quality of life issues, reduce crime, clean up sanitation. And then once you get over that hump, you could get into the issues of marketing and promoting small businesses and finishing, and filling the vacancies. But the key thing, and I think one of the key foundations of economic development, is to focus laser beam on those quality of life issues. That is one of the reasons why BIDS were put together.
Let's just start with security then. How does a bid improve security? They are not the police force. They, we're not going to bring out the guardian angels and start rounding people up with little organizations like that. How do you do
Well,
that?
I could tell you from my own experience. I ran a bid, at 14th Street Union Square. It was an area where the edges of 4 different police precincts, not one precinct, 4 different precincts. And it's great when you have a cop on the block, but you don't always have a cop on the block. What our ambassadors did, our public safety officers without guns would do is walk that district.
That was a privately hired security force.
That's correct.
Custom made for the particulars of the district. We know where the problems are. We know where there may be an alleyway. We know what places get targeted.
And
those kinds of things.
And we are developing a relationship with that small business owner. And it could be shoplifting issues that might be occurring. It might be illegal parking. Looking for those particular issues that make a neighborhood great. And pointing someone in the right direction. Someone comes down from the subway and they're looking around. They're looking for a place. Seeing that, observing that, and helping in that way.
And of course, coordinating with NYPD. I mean, you can't become your own police force.
So it knits together, and I see a great value, and I still see a great value.
Mr. Bonizio, Westchester Square Business Improvement District has done well, and it has. I mean, your business is there, Metro Optics. You have 4 stores. One of them, I guess, the flagship store is there at Westchester Square. Why has it been successful, and what made it successful?
Well, I think that the most important thing is that it's a true public-private partnership, or at least it started out that way. So for the first 5 years of the bid's existence, we were able to focus on branding the area, improving the cleanliness of the area, improving the marketing of the area. And it took a neighborhood that was in a downward spiral of urban decay and brought it back.
This is really what he had said about when they were created, that it really responded to a need.
Absolutely. And then about 2 years ago, the city decriminalized a lot of quality of life crimes, and it created a completely different concern amongst the bid property owners and the merchants of the area.
Such as?
Well, all of a sudden now there was more shoplifting. There were pickpockets in the area. There were vagrants that were coming in and committing the quality of life crimes that we had seen go by the wayside for so long. So we had to take a big part of our marketing budget and put it into security. So now we have our own security force, where initially for the first 5 years it was not necessary. So you asked the question about how do you do that? You're not a police force. So what we did was we put our security force in touch with the bid office by radio, 2-way radio. All of our cleaning guys have 2-way radios. They're all connected. So if the cleaning
So they
guys,
act as security people.
they act well, and they act as the eyes and ears
Wow.
of the police force, which particularly in the 45th precinct has been decreased as far as personnel is concerned. There's no more such thing as a cop on the beat. If there's a problem, they react to it. You call 911 and the police come in a patrol car, but there's no proactive measures by the police department.
Now, you are a business owner, small business, although it is getting larger. Congratulations for that.
We're
You've
trying.
done
Thank
I know
you.
you really are. Let's talk about the tax and what are the realities of that tax. And I can certainly understand a small business owner who's saying, you know what, that's nice. I believe in power in numbers, like you're all saying. But you know what? I gotta sell, sell, sell. And if you want me to pay even more taxes, I just can't do it.
Now,
I mean,
first of
I
all-
think you've got to be sympathetic to that.
First of all, it's not a tax, okay? It's an
I meant
assessment.
like it.
It comes on the tax bill, so I understand why you're saying that.
Okay.
But a tax is something that goes in your profit and loss statement. It's something that you have to pay based on the profit that you make. A bid assessment fee is an investment. It really belongs, even though it's on your profit and loss, it really belongs on your balance sheet because it's an investment in your business, because it's an investment in your community. A bid pays about $2.50 a day in some cases, okay, for the services that they receive.
You're talking about
from
bid
the
for one business.
For one business.
$2.50
So maybe
a day.
let's say $50 a week, okay? If I said to you, Gary, you're a business owner, give me $50 a week and I'm going to make your business better, you would laugh in my face. But if 200
Excuse me,
businesses...
laugh in your face because I wouldn't believe it could be done.
It could be done with $50.
Right.
But if 150 merchants all put $50 a week in, now you've got a budget where you can create a business plan for the business district. You can hire an executive director to advocate for you, okay? And you can get these things done. And that's what happens in the 76 bids.
You make a very compelling case, and that's why you've been a good, quote-unquote, salesperson for the notion of bid, a good marketer for the notion of bids. How tough is it to, I mean, I know what I said is definitely what you get back from small business owners. How tough a quote-unquote sale is it to get them to be part of it?
You have to educate people, okay? There are a lot of people who go around with the notion that you don't have to pay that kind of money. The city is supposed to do those things. And that might be true to a certain extent, okay? But if you don't put money into your business, the city's not going to do that for you. If anything...
Even if they should.
If anything, right now, the city treats small businesses as a bottomless piggy bank, okay, for its own budget. That doesn't happen with a bid. Every nickel goes right back into the community.
Mr. Walsh, you worked for the city for a long time and
12 years.
represented the other side of the coin. How does the city view bids? In other words, and now I realize you work for the Bloomberg administration, may be different from this administration.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, but how does basically the city view the bids? Does it say, hey, we'd like a bid everywhere because then they handle stuff that we may not be able to handle?
No, and
Is that fair? That's not fair.
Yeah, I don't think there should be a bid everywhere, and I think some of the bids, quite frankly, need a reassessment. I think some of them are treating their positions and their neighborhoods as if they are a sleepy tenured professor. And I think that's unfortunate, and I think it's a black eye for the rest of the organizations. When I would go into neighborhoods, and John knows this, I would walk the area and I would meet with the property owners who had an interest in business improvement districts, and I would say, this is what I think you need, based on your vacancies, trash on the streets, maybe.
You don't have lights during the holidays, which is an attractive thing.
This is what I think, but you know what? It's up to you. This is your resources. You move it to where it is needed. And I think that is a very powerful thing. The first bid that I created as a commissioner was Fordham Road. And what I did on Fordham Road is I had some resources from a grant, and I put it out there, and 1 week, and we cleaned up the neighborhood. And I said, look.
You did that as an example.
As an example. I said,
Wow.
look what could be done.
And
look what we could be done.
Excuse
That's
me, I
pretty
actually
powerful.
remember the day that the mayor came up there on Fordham Road. I actually was there that day.
I have a picture of him with a broom sweeping Fordham Road. Right. People want to know if he'd come back the next day.
Fordham Road, the longest continuous shopping strip in the city. We know that. It almost, shouts, yes, we should be a district of our own. What characterize what districts should be bids and what districts shouldn't be bids? Because there could be business owners watching us right now saying, gee, I'd love to do it in my neighborhood, but it's not really the right kind of place. Or on the other hand, there are people saying, gee, we have one, maybe we don't need it. Just who should have one?
Well, that's a very tough question. I think who should have one is based on the small businesses that see a need. What is the additions that they want to make? Is it a security issue? Is it a sanitation issue? Is it is it marketing? Do they have more vacancies? How do they want to tackle this? I often look at clusters of retail corridors. I used to have a big map in my office that showed where those clusters of areas were. Was it around Westchester Square, Fordham Road, up Broadway? And then if there's missing pieces along there, it's going to be a lot tougher. If there's a lot of residential development in there, it's going to be a lot tougher because residents are not assessed business improvement districts.
What we heard here from Mr. Bonizio, I think was very instructive, and you actually related to it, and that was, well, we use some of our marketing budget and put that towards security because that situation changed. And so, you know, I'm looking at the list here of.
And it's interesting in the city because what I saw is once many neighborhoods got over, you know, the hump, if you will, on security and sanitation, they started marketing and promoting the neighborhoods, which was great.
Right.
That was victory.
But they called the shots. You know, I'm looking at, you know, areas as diverse as maybe you're looking at Southern Boulevard and Morris Park, two totally different looking types of places.
That's right.
And to be able to custom make it, I think, is important. Let's just talk about some of the things. I know that you're interested, and Manhattan College is interested in building up the business improvement district in the area that's near Manhattan College. Talk to me about what your thoughts are about the Kingsbridge bid. There's a story in the Riverdale Press about potentially expanding the bid. What do you think? That you'd like to see that, I guess.
Yeah. I've been at it for a year now. I met with the executive director of the Kingsbridge Business Improvement District more than a year ago. I suggested to her Manhattan College, 4,000 students, a lot of professors, a lot of visitors, a lot of resources. We could do what many other colleges and universities have done, really play a role as an anchor, encouraging
That's
our
what you said at the
students.
top about an anchor.
An anchor, right? And encouraging our students. Now, if Broadway and 238th Street is dirty and is choking with garbage and it is dark, our students are going to see that barrier, our faculty, our staff, and they're going to shy away from it. Let's tackle that head on. Now, the bid.
Excuse me, 4,000 students is a lot of business activity.
You bet
and
it is.
certainly for colleges, kids who are looking to do stuff. I mean,
You-
sorry, I had to interject that.
you bet it is.
As a
Now-
business owner, you'd say, please bring them.
Now the bid's boundaries are 2 blocks away. This is
2 blocks south?
2 blocks south of 238th Street.
236.
It just means extending 2 blocks and create, you know, and 238th Street. You and I have walked that
Yes.
that area. The ale house, the coffee shop, the cheesecake, S&S Cheesecake Factory, the pharmacy, all small businesses. What it's example of what he's at. Bringing them together.
Is it possible to do that? I mean, it sounds like an administrative thing. You
It
just
is.
kind of
It's
redraw
very
a map or
possible,
something
you know.
like that.
But you know, if the executive director, in this case, does not want to and wants to sit on the sideline and is not being encouraged by the city, to be proactive and eliminate what I see is a black
So
eye.
if you were commissioner, I mean, you're doing it now as a private citizen, but if you were commissioner even now, you would give a ring and say, hey, let's take a look at this and see what we can do. I mean, that's what you would recommend.
I have reached out to my former agency and have strongly encouraged them to see this as an opportunity.
Mr. Bonizio, your idea now is to look at a different neighborhood. You've been instrumental in Morris Park and in Throgs Neck and, of course, in your own at Westchester Square. But now you've taken a broader look and said, there was a story in the Bronx Times about potentially looking at Castle Hill. What inspires you about that neighborhood that makes you say, we ought to have a bid here?
Well, we were asked to participate in that project by the last council person for that district, Annabelle Palmer. Ruben Diaz Sr. has taken it forward since she came out of office. But they asked us to go in there and do what we did in Westchester Square.
Because
over
you
in
were
Castle Hill.
successful.
Because we were successful. So we have a team in our bid, a bid development team, that put together the Morris Park bid, put together the Throgs Neck bid, and now went into Castle Hill. So it's all a matter of education, as I said before. So you have to educate the property owners to understand what it is that this additional money is going to go to. And you have to also, it's more important that the merchants are on board with this.
Well, I think they'd have to be. Draw some boundaries. We don't have a map in front of us, but Castle Hill Avenue, I mean, what are we talking about?
So-
and then what's there? Is there an anchor? You got the YMCA down at the tail end. I don't know if that becomes
doesn't go
part of
down
it.
that far.
Doesn't go down, yeah, because
No.
there's not businesses between
Correct.
that
There are
area.
several banks there. There's Ponce Bank.
That's right.
That has been very active.
Westchester Avenue.
Yes, very active. So it goes from Ponce Bank down a block past, a block west of Castle Hill Avenue, and a block north of on Castle Hill, a block north of Westchester, and up to the Cross Bronx Expressway.
You know, I'm just thinking of, I know the area very well, I'm just thinking of that area. It really lends itself. You got under the L, of course, on Westchester Avenue, and then if you're going, I guess, north and make a right on Castle Hill, you've got really nice, frankly, health food stores. Get yourself healthier, get a nice, nice frozen juice or something, and a nice sandwich or something, which I've been there many times. There's a very large diner that's very, very popular over there. I could see it. I mean, the vision is there. Is it a hard sell? Now,
No, it was one of the easiest.
One of the easiest. I mean, there's juice bars there, for example. That's what I was suggesting. And those kinds of businesses, they like the idea.
Well, you know what it is more than anything else? The more problems that a community has, a business community has,
Right.
the easier it is to educate people about the benefits of a bid. Because this is a matter of, let's take a look at the problem, okay, and come up with our own solution and fix the problem, which is what they want to do there.
I don't know if we're going too far with this. Do you know what kinds of I mean, everybody wants store traffic. We know that. What kinds of problems you think that they really are going to need to look at and then use kind of list the priorities for them?
Well, sanitation and security are paramount, okay? They don't have a Christmas light program. They want to brand the area. They want to better the image of the area. They want to make it a place where better merchants are going to want to come in, okay, and more people are going to want to come. They want to increase the foot traffic in the area where people are not afraid to come to Castle Hill to go shopping.
You know, you mentioned the Christmas lights thing, and I think when I've been doing this show a long time, when we first talked about Christmas lights, and I was like, yeah, all right, big deal. But you know what? Now that I think about it, in terms of, you know, looking at Castle Hill Avenue, if you live anywhere near that area, probably would make a really big difference during that time of year. It would make people feel like, wow, this is a place to come to shop. It's celebratory.
It also tells them that the commercial community
Right.
cares about the neighborhood.
Where is it at right now? Where's the process?
Oh, they're done.
They're done.
They're done. The outreach is done. It's now going into the legislative phase, the very slow and arduous legislative phase, where we have to go through the Department of Small Business Services, city planning, the New York City Council, the Finance Committee, goes through all that.
Gentleman to your left is smiling. 'Cause
It
he
takes
knows
about
too
10
well.
months to a year to get that done.
Are you satisfied with that process? Is that a difficult process to navigate? I guess everything has paperwork. When you deal with
It
the
is,
city.
but you know, this is a democracy, and people want their voice. You know, and that's what it is. You know, I always wondered. I think the fastest we were able to get a bid from beginning to end was 9 months. It's a lot easier to extend the boundary lines. I'll emphasize that again, but it's
And now I realize because you're up at Manhattan College, so you look at Kingsbridge and Riverdale and that part of the Bronx. Are there other areas that you think of that could use a bit? And I don't want to make a mistake here. I'm looking at the area. If you go White Plains Road north of Gun Hill Road and you go straight all the way up there, it sure looks to me like that area, which has a thriving, business district.
White Plains Road, Allerton Avenue.
Oh, Allerton could be
Allerton,
one, too.
I would say Bruckner Boulevard.
Bruckner near where? I mean,
Down near the old piano district.
down there.
Port Morris.
Port Morris.
Yeah, I mean that would be
Wow.
another area that I would. Grand Concourse, north
Wow.
of Yankee Stadium, maybe.
Of course,
Yeah.
161st Street has a bid. I mean, that's a very active bid. They try very hard. I know people down there. Then let's just say somebody is in those areas, or an elected official is in those areas watching the program. What do they do to get started? Do they call John Bonizio and say, "Help, tell us how to do it"? I mean, is that a way to do it?
Well, one is look, in the Bronx, the chamber has been
The Bronx Chamber.
phenomenal. Lisa Soren comes out of the Business Improvement District.
Mr. Bonizio didn't credit her directly, but a lot of the things you said were because she was the leader of the executive director.
She was in our ED for 6 years, and it was a big loss.
Yeah, and I think the chamber is and will be playing an even greater role in bringing the business improvement districts together. I think you have some really strong bid directors, not just focus on the ones that are sitting on the sidelines, but the ones that are, working hard and making their neighborhoods better and pushing the envelope, and every once in a while challenging government to do more, and encouraging commissioners and directors and others to walk the districts with them. We have that in the Bronx, and we could have even more so.
To me, what I think of when we talk about a 10-month process is technical capability. You have the technical capability to get the applications right, to do the solicitation of all the businesses and those kinds of
And
things.
keeping, and I think this is key, it's keeping that sense of urgency and keeping the property owners and the merchants engaged and involved. And I think that's the role of government. Government has to be proactive in bringing those, and when there is a void, you have a chamber stepping in and saying, you know what, we're going to bring it together.
Or show you how to do it.
That's
I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I
Share
want to
best
just,
practices.
the
there you
10-month
go.
process
Yes.
is the legislative process.
Right.
It takes about 2 years to get to that point, at least 2 years. Okay, so you have to go in, you have to
Reaching
map
out.
the district. You have to know who all the property owners are. You have to contact every one of them.
But that stuff is available.
But
That
it takes
stuff-
2 years.
But somebody's gotta
that's
do it.
available.
That's what the
I mean,
bid development program does.
Right.
Once it gets passed over to SBS, it becomes a city issue.
So is there anything left to do now for Castle Hill, or it's a waiting process to watch it?
It's
you know,
about
go-
5 steps that they need to go through, which is just starting now.
And for you and Metro Optics, doing well. You're happy. That's why you've expanded to other neighborhoods in the Bronx, because it's been a great place for you.
Well, you grow or you die. Okay, and that's true
That's a
of business
gr-
as
what a
well
great
as
attitude.
communities.
Well, now Rob Walsh, who's been in small businesses for a long time, just got an education just like I did. It's a great way to look at it. And for you, just keep advocating so that Manhattan College and their students can have a thriving business area around them.
Yeah, we can and we should. We have a number of corridors, whether it's the end of the line at West 242nd Street or 238th Street or Riverdale Avenue. We're going to be more. We have a president who's involved in the Van Cortlandt Park Alliance. They're doing a great job. There's some capital improvements. We want to bring our baseball team back to the park. Maybe that's a topic for another
program.
time.
We could definitely do that. Listen,
yeah.
you two gentlemen are really important to the borough of the Bronx, and we appreciate all the work you do, not only with your own business, but advocating for small businesses. And we're happy to have you now
Yeah, well, it's great.
exclusively
Yeah,
in the Bronx,
well,
Rob Walsh and John Bonizio. Thank you both so much. We'll see you around town, and we'll look for better and more thriving small businesses in the Bronx.
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much.
me.
Thanks,
Folks, if you have further questions or comments on anything you heard on tonight's show or anything going on in the Bronx, you send us an email, bronxtalk@bronxnet.org. You could send us a tweet at BronxTalk or post them on our Facebook page, and we'll get you an answer for anything you might need. Next week, switch gears, Bronx politics. The chair of the Bronx Democratic County Committee, Assemblyman Marcos Crespo, will join us. Thanks to our producer, Helen Greenberg. The directors are William Guzman and Nick Marrero. We'll be here next week. We'll see you then. Good night.